what's up? Welcome to the mandatory post-fight live show. If you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see it on the screen. If you're listening to this on the audio side a little bit after, then of course you'll see it there in the description. If you've already done that, thanks so much because you're helping the channel and the show grow.
I'm kind of tired of the face of boxing conversation. Like I find myself not caring who's the face of boxing because the sport is not popular enough right now to have a face that everyone cares about. Like the most popular guy is still probably Canelo Alvarez, even though he keeps being subpar and just lost again. And
But
worldwide,
that's
it's
why
still
the
probably
conversation,
him.
but that's why the conversation is important, right?
Like I
Because
like
we
I
know
don't
he's
like I
on his
don't
way
care.
up.
I don't care about face of boxing. I don't care about face of the NBA. I don't give a shit about face of the NFL. Like it doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit.
I mean, I think it's a big deal because it helps grow the sport. And if there's a face that is extremely exciting, then people are going to want to watch. And I think in terms of this era, like it's been Canelo since Mayweather left. And as you know, those are the guys that also bring in a bunch of viewers where you can be a casual fan and want to watch a fight. So I think those conversations are important because it helps grow the sport, just like how the NBA did,
I
right? Like
don't.
you don't
I
think it's
don't
important.
because it centers the conversation around one person when we should be talking about like not who's the face of boxing, but like just
But
the
that's not
pound
how
for
media works, Brian.
the
You're in
pound for
media.
pound. Yeah,
That
yeah.
that's not how it works.
That's a fucking problem then
Yeah,
that
but
I can't control.
no,
Like,
because as you know in media, like that's the thing.
well,
Like there's one
media,
person that they center it around, right? It's just the game, and that's just how it is.
media is not covering boxing anyway.
No. But I think it's more new. I think that's more new news for you guys than up where I'm from, because in Canada, there's never been coverage of boxing like that since like the 90s.
We don't have
So
anyone who has a TV deal except Zuffa, just because Dana White is friends with the president, and just because he's in with the Saudi royal family who's funding all this shit. Like that's what it takes to actually get funding for the sport. It's not put a great product together because Top Rank doesn't even have a deal right now, and they've been without a deal for 4 months.
and
You
and
just gotta
and,
have
and you
friends
know,
in high places and have influence in terms of people who are making political
it's
decisions.
not just boxing anymore. Maybe Project B, the new women's league. That's happening, and there's a lot of money that is involved with that. Will
They're
it
denying that it's Saudi funded,
it is it there's been a lot of reports that it is Saudi funded,
but
and that's where the money is apparently coming from.
uh,
So we're gonna see, which is crazy because I never thought they'd support women. All right, let's go on to the next.
that government combined with our government is just ruining everything. But that's another story for another day. Fight
Yeah,
Sport Talk says Benavidez was always going to smash yard.
I agree.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. Uh,
Let's IMPK
has,
has a comment here, which I want to get to, and I agree with him. You
yeah,
need to star in boxing to get media coverage, which will lead to more fans, which will grow the sport. Exactly.
you don't need one star. You need more. You need a lot more because if you have one star, that person fights twice a year. This isn't a sport where you could watch a player play in the NBA for 82 games or a starting pitcher have 33 starts in a season or a football player play for 16, 17, 18. And if they go to the Super Bowl or deep into the playoffs, 20 weeks. You have a star in the sport, they fight twice in a year. You need the entire pound for pound top 10 to resonate, or you need like 10, 15 people to resonate. And that's what the sport doesn't have right now. That's why I don't care for the face of boxing conversation because and I don't care for the face of whatever conversation, but at least in the NBA, you're going to see this person if they're the face of the league from October all the way through at least April. And if they're on a really good team, May and maybe June. In boxing, you will see this person in October and in June, and that's it. Twice in a year.
I think the only thing that I disagree with there, I think it's important because here's the thing: you need casual fans. Sometimes when you're a casual fan, you don't keep up with everything. The thing that's great about the sport of boxing and the reason why we watch it and the reason why we're nerds is because we keep up with all the boxers that maybe not a lot of people talk about. And I love that because I hate talking about boxing with casual fans because they'll say the most stupid stuff that I've ever heard in my entire life,
It's a little
right?
harsh.
No, I'm being honest. Like they won't know
You have
of
different casual fan friends than me, then. Mine are at least inquisitive and they'll ask
no,
like
mine
interesting
aren't.
questions.
Mine aren't. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think there's a lot of inquisitive people that follow boxing unless like you really love boxing. That's just my opinion. Like there's some people that don't know how good BAM is.
I think we're
There's
talking about two
there's
different kinds of people, though.
yeah.
I'm talking more about boxing curious people, like people who, like there are people in my life who don't care about boxing at like beyond the handful of guys that we would typically talk about, but they'll ask me questions about, hey, I heard about this person. Who's this? What's their story here? What's the deal with Clarissa Shields? What's happened? What's Amanda Serrano? Why did she get robbed by Katie Taylor? What, all these, the second time, not the third time, all these different things, right? Like those people are like who you need for this sport to grow, so that you and I, instead of just doing this the way we do it, we could do it somewhere that is actually, putting funding behind it, because they actually want the sport covered in a real different way.
I think that's a different conversation though, which leads to like how media is there's not a lot of support within real media anymore. And you're seeing a lot of things being stripped away. That's a whole other different conversation and we should probably get to the fights. But I
No,
like
this
in
is
my
more
opinion,
interesting.
I mean maybe not to the people watching because they want the fight breakdown, but
Ah,
forever
we're getting comments.
I just think in terms of so there being a face of boxing, I do think it's important. You know why? Because a fight like Canelo and Bud, a bunch of people that have probably only watched boxing for the big fights will tune into a fight like that. Star Power does that. People will be like, "Oh, Canelo's fighting," like, and they'll watch the fight whether you like Canelo or not. Mayweather did that for a very long time, right? But then there's other superstars that are great for boxing that you might see on one of those cards, and you're like, "Whoa!" and you kind of fall in love with it. That's why I think it's important because it's going to open the doors to you seeing other boxers that you might like. Now, that's why I think the face of boxing is an important type of thing because Canelo's going to be out the door soon, right? I don't know what's going on with Tank. Like, let's be serious. He's got a lot of outside stuff going on, right? He's a guy that sells pay-per-views, though. But I guess they're trying to get rid of pay-per-views and everything like that. You
I
know,
think it's a little different with Floyd though, because when Floyd was like the face, you still had Canelo Alvarez. You still had Gennady Golovkin, who was actually
yeah,
beginning to kind of become that type of star and was featured on HBO. So I guess part of it is like, hey, HBO and Showtime were there, and you could say, hey, you have to pay for those. But it's like, that's what they were known for. Like people had HBO and Showtime for boxing.
yeah.
There's now you need DAZN, and people here, we talked about it. People in North America don't really care for DAZN like that, don't get it, whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is you don't need a face of boxing. You need like 10, you need like 15, you need 20, because otherwise, if you just have one, you're seeing that person twice a year, and that's all people are going to care about. You need like multiple faces. Like if you look at the pound for pound top 10 from years ago, you're going to have like Floyd, you're going to have Golovkin, you're going to have Canelo Alvarez. Chocolatito fighting on Gennady Golovkin cards educated a lot of people in terms of him becoming one of those, oh, who's this really small dude that I get to see on the Gennady Golovkin cards who's fucking people up? He's really good. And you also had a lively like welterweight division. A division helps because people knew Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman fought on ESPN. People knew about Errol Spence. People knew about even Terrence
But
Crawford.
Brian, we have that right now.
No, we
Like
don't. No, we
Naiwa
don't.
Inoue, Naiwa
No
Inoue,
one cares
Bud
about Naoya
Crawford.
Inoue in the States. They care about him in
But
Japan, and you
just
care about him if you're a locked in boxing fan. And
I don't
he
think
just fought on
but
Facebook Live,
dude, I don't think people like okay, so we did. This is a hard conversation to have because we love boxing.
and we
So
love Inoue. But
no, let me finish. This is a hard conversation to have because we like boxing. So we liked watching Triple G back then. We you know what I mean? We liked and Canelo was rising like at the time like Mayweather was still that dude for a very long time. That was the tail end of Mayweather's career though, when Canelo was rising as you know. But we have that now. Like we have superstars,
no, we
right?
don't. No, we
I
don't.
think we do. I think we
No, we
do.
do not.
I
We don't
think
have
we do.
super. If we have superstars, someone will have a TV deal, and this all wouldn't be on the zone. We
But
don't
the
have
media's
superstars.
changing. Like like a TV deal, what does it mean now? That's linear TV. Barely anybody has cable. Brian, how
But
many people do you
ES,
know have cable now? Unless you're over 50
no,
years
I
old.
still, but people have ESPN, Chantel. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
you can
about
get that on a
cable.
stream. You can
It's
get
not
that on
about
a streaming
cable.
service. But here's
Okay,
the
but
thing.
that still matters. It's
But ESPN
ESPN.
is getting out of so much stuff. They don't care about the same things that they used to care about, right? So
That matters.
that's an ESPN problem though, right? Because we're
No, that's
seeing
a
it change.
boxing problem
But
because nobody
but
else is picking
boxing,
them up.
but
Nobody else
that's
is
the
picking them
thing.
up except CBS because Dana White's friends with the president. That's the only reason that they're having that deal. That's the only reason.
But here's the thing, Brian. I think boxing could get a deal somewhere, but everything is changing. So it's the value of it. I think the way they've done the sport, like the last 10 years, has really ticked off a lot of people.
If boxing could get a deal, Top Rank wouldn't be on Tubi.
I mean, Top Rank's just dumb for not having a deal. That's a Top Rank problem. Like how you cannot have a deal and you're having fights on Facebook. Look, what is Top Rank doing? That's a whole different other story. And I think you could just go to a streaming service.
I mean,
PBC did it.
PFL has a deal with ESPN. They kept
Yeah.
PFL over Top Rank.
Hey man, I think
Like,
Top
I don't
Rank
think that's an
wanted that bread
ESPN
though.
problem.
I
I think
think
that's a boxing problem.
that's a negotiation problem. That's a negotiation problem.
I mean, the number
Clearly.
wasn't for that much money
No,
to
no.
keep it. But that matters because the visibility on certain platforms matter. Like the reason why a lot of these guys resonated before in a different way was because, again, you had HBO, you had Showtime. That eventually, when PBC started, you had them on ESPN, you had them on Fox, you had them on NBC, you had them on CBS, you had them on
But
even
that's
Spike
also
TV.
But that's also an American conversation because in Canada we did not have HBO, we did not have Showtime, we didn't have any of those things. If anything, having it on streaming services now makes it more worldwide, makes it more accessible. It wasn't as accessible before. Even the fights on ESPN, like this is such a it's a natural conversation versed around America and what Americans are having issues
That's
with about
predominantly,
boxing.
yeah, that's what
But
we're talking about.
everywhere else, Brian, it's more accessible. When there's fights on ESPN Plus, they're not up here. You have to find them online. And sometimes it's not the legal way. You have to find them. They're not accessible.
Just
Even
because it's more accessible doesn't mean people are watching it.
I think some people are, but I think when they get rid of they're trying to get rid of pay-per-views, but really they're just charging you more in terms of like a DAZN membership fee. But it's like I think that's the big thing too. I think pay-per-views have really turned off a lot of people in this day and age because
Yeah.
number one, they might be too expensive. Like, there's some pay-per-views that should not be pay-per-views. And I think that's something that has turned fans away from boxing because as you know, they were listing things as so many pay-per-views. And it's like, well, this is not a pay-per-view fight. Why do fans have to pay for this? And I think that was the bigger issue. I don't think TV networks are going, they don't have a star. They don't have a face of boxing. I don't want to give this a deal. It's just like,
I
what
think they
product
do
are
do
you
that.
putting out?
I
What
think they do
product
do
are you?
that.
I think that's a little bit of a discussion of it, but at the same time, I think that it's also like how they're gearing up these fight cards. Like some of these cards are trash, right? Like, and I don't give Turk a lot of props, but I think he has tried to put together some good cards and we've gotten some big fights. But in terms of like what is a pay-per-view, not every fight is a pay-per-view fight.
I agree, but UFC does a similar thing and they have no issues. And they put out worse cards because UFC is not having a good year in terms of the quality of cards that they're putting out.
Yeah.
They just got a lot more money from CBS, more billions of dollars than people expected because Dana White has friends in high places.
But another reason for that is because, and this is something that I guess Dana White is trying to start. And UFC is easier to follow. Boxing is not because of all the titles. This is one of the issues. But if you're not a diehard boxing fan, you're not following everything, the WBA, the WBO, the IBF, the WBA. Like there's so many different titles, there's so many champions, whereas like casual boxing fans are not going to be able to keep up with that. I've been asked so many times, like, what's a super champion? It makes no sense.
This is why
right.
I'm
And
saying
so
there are no superstars.
that's an easier way. But I also think it's not, if you're not, here's another reason why boxing I don't think is covered the way that it's covered. Because people may not know how to cover it unless you know boxing. Like it's hard to follow. Whereas the UFC model, it's easy. There's one champ in each division, and he's that guy. It's not like that in boxing. So that's another issue. But that's one of the issues.
You can't really do it like that though, because you could only do that if you have a Zuffa, which is what they're going to try to do. You can't do it because boxing, there's like thousands of people in every weight class. You can't have one world champion. If you did, then almost nobody would be a champion. And look, this all goes into the fact that like these guys are not like superstar. I'm thinking of like the pinnacle of like you're in the top 1% of fame as an athlete. Boxing doesn't have that. Boxing does not have that.
I would have to disagree with
Superstars,
you. I would have to disagree with
superstars.
you. But let's go to Ryan Shepherd. If I'm a network, why would I do a deal with Top Rank? In the last 5 years, they've lost Crawford, Stevenson, etc. Why would a network think they could keep Mason, Davis, etc.? They're not reliable. Do you think the Top Rank product has gone down, Brian?
Networks don't even know who Abdullah Mason is. They probably don't care either.
Okay, but do you think their product
Yes,
has
yeah,
gone down?
sure,
Oh,
because they fucked around with the Terrence Crawford thing. And, Shakur Stevenson, I mean, I don't know to what degree a network will be like, "Hey, let me put on this counterpuncher, this savant counterpuncher who's kind of popular on my network." Like, I don't know to what degree he's gonna move their needle. Like, this is all, like, from a network perspective. If it's me and you running a TV show, like, we're gonna have a boxing show. Like, if we're running a TV network, we're gonna have boxing content because we care
yeah.
about that stuff. But but because of the way the landscape is, we're probably not gonna make shit because because people just don't care in that way.
Mhm.
We should probably talk about the fights that have happened, tonight,
That's right.
but
That's I told you. Well, quickly, there's a couple more comments. ESPN was only paying Top Rank $30 million, and Jesus
was
also
it that
said
low?
Major League Baseball got a TV deal with ESPN, Netflix, and NBC. Yeah, it's very interesting to see other networks and other leagues get deals, and Top Rank still be in the unknown. Like, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of their deal, but I hope they figure it out at least in January.
We'll
Hopefully
see.
there's an announcement,
We'll
right?
see, or unless
Um,
Xander's Highest is gonna be on freaking Roku in January. We'll see.
that's why, hey man, I don't know, but hopefully not.
Just go on YouTube. Like, if you wanna talk about making it more accessible, just do what ProBox TV does and just put it on YouTube. Now, it making it more accessible doesn't mean more people are gonna watch it, but if you put it on YouTube, it's much easier than finding it on Facebook Live in 2025 or 2026.
This is a great comment by IMPK13. Is it possible that purses that top boxers get have gotten out of control? Do you believe this, Brian?
Yes, of course, for the top 1%. But
Yes.
here's the thing, IMPK. Everything financially has gotten out of control for the top 1%. It doesn't matter in what field it is. Like, if you look at inflation, just general inflation,
Yeah.
this is the worst it's been in terms of separating rich people from the working class. This is the biggest like gap we've seen where like there are numbers about, hey, the top 5% have like 99% of the wealth or whatever it is, or the top 1% has 95% and everyone else is fighting for the bottom 5%. Not the exact numbers, but you get the point. Like, we're seeing more shit like that out there. So of course this is a problem in boxing that Dana White is probably going to try to regulate by going so far in the other direction that boxers are not well compensated at all. So we're going to have a different issue
That's
coming
yeah.
forward based on his history. So like, yes, I think the purses have gotten out of control because guys that, again, people have never heard of are making like 6 and 7 figures at times, for these fights. We talked about the payments for the Times Square card earlier this year, which was
It's crazy.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? For a card that was invite only in the middle of Times Square that bombed, that had a bunch of people that motherfuckers in Times Square don't even know like that.
Well, you had made and we are going to get to the other fights, guys. But you also had made a really interesting comment, which I kind of thought of after. You said, "Are the purses getting too big where the guys aren't like caring at this point because they know they're going to get like a big bag,
And
and
preserving
that
themselves for
affects."
future big bags.
Yes, exactly, and maybe not giving their all, but they're going to get the money. Like, do you still believe that? Because I think that could be a factor as well.
Yes, for now,
Yeah,
because like this is what Dana White is gonna like get Turk to do in terms of like coming down a little bit, because Turk was like going crazy with the money that he was throwing
yeah.
at shit and probably still will be because they have money to blow, and you can see that by all the things that they're doing.
And I think the fights were at like 6 a.m. I had no idea until David Benavidez said it in his post fight live. So these fights, like, they're doing it in Saudi, but like it's super early. But nonetheless, let's
And
get to
why
the
would they do
other
that?
fights
Why would
because
they do that? Why would
yeah,
they do that? Because they want to appease to America. Because a lot of the fighters are American, but
yeah.
but people don't care about the sport in America like they used to.
I still think the worst event was Canelo and Williams School. That was the worst event
I don't
and
know
the
that
worst
Times
fight.
Square card.
One of the worst fights I've seen. I don't know. At the end of the year, we're gonna do the worst cards of the year. That's what we're gonna do. So stay tuned for that because there will be a big list, unfortunately.